A reading from Psalm 25. Look upon me, Lord, and have pity on me, for I am lonely and afflicted. Relieve the troubles of my heart. Bring me out of my distress. Look upon my afflictions and suffering. Take away all my sins. See how many are my enemies. See how fiercely they hate me. Preserve my soul and rescue me. Do not let me be disgraced. For in you, O Lord, I seek refuge. Let integrity and uprightness preserve me. I wait for you, O Lord. The word of the Lord. I recently read that one of the side effects of sin is loneliness. The Dominican Father B. Jared writes, "The sense of sin brings with it a feeling of loneliness when the first pleasurable excitement has worn off." Pope Benedict XIV went on to speak about such a loneliness, and he said that it can reach a point of being hell for a sinner. He writes, "If there is such a thing as a loneliness which could no longer be penetrated and transformed by the word of another, then we should have real total loneliness and frightfulness, what theology might call hell." I don't think I ever thought about loneliness being a consequence of my sin. Have you? Oh, I'm conscious, as you are, of the guilt I feel when I have done something wrong, and the shame I experience in some cases, which is far worse. For instance, after I have become angry in a manner that is destructive and not destructive. But the more I think about it, I can recall specific sins that I have committed where one of the feelings I had was loneliness. Because the sin that I committed put me in a frame of mind that created a breach in my relationship with another or others and separated me from them. I suddenly felt isolated and alone in my sin, and I even felt somehow I didn't belong. So B. Jared is right. No doubt about it. I was lonely, just as the psalmist describes in Psalm 25. You know, in our novena prayers every week, we continually call on Mary to help us in our temptations, and most especially during those times when we're tempted to sin. Now that I think about it, I believe Mary not only can give us the grace to overcome those temptations, but she can save us from the loneliness that comes after we choose to sin. Because she's there for us, no matter how much we mess up or go astray. We are not alone, and she wants us to know that we belong. I always think that Jesus' promise, "I will not leave you orphans," finds its fulfillment in Mary, the Mother of God. So how exactly does Mary help to dispel our loneliness? Well, in speaking of the saints in general, the Catechism teaches that what they can do for us is amazing. They're very attentive to our feelings. And when we cry out to them, they apply the merits of their holy lives to our petitions, just as the shedding of Christ's blood is said to ask pardon for us. I remember years ago, Father Peter Cameron, who was the chief editor of the Magnificat, had a simple example which I think helps us to understand how this works. Do you remember the days when there were things called green stamps? Green stamps were bonuses given to you by the supermarket when you bought your groceries. And they were meant to be exchanged for merchandise of all sorts. So you would collect them and paste them into books. And you had to have a lot of books to get anything worthwhile. So his grandmother and two aunts would put all their books together and turn them in as one collection in order to get the one really good gift. When the grandmother went to turn the books in, the clerk didn't stop her and say, "Now, wait a minute. What's going on here? These are not all your green stamps. It seems to me that some of these books belong to others." That did not happen. The clerk just counted the total number of books, and if the amount was correct, out came the big gift from the magic green stamp room. So Mary does something similar for us. To our poor prayers, she applies her holy merits so that when God receives our prayers, our petitions, he doesn't question or object to what may be lacking in us. Rather, he rejoices in the magnitude of Mary's love, who has applied, or the better way to say it, who has joined her prayers with ours. Thus, in this wonderful exchange between Mary and God, the holiness of Mary profits us. By the way, the name of the place where you turned in your green stamps was called the Redemption Center. So the attentiveness and the sincerity that Mary shows us helps us to set our hearts aflame with a love that has the power and the grace to dispel our loneliness. Through her intercession, God gives us what we need and expels the curse of loneliness which could otherwise be our lot. Mary, our Mother Perpetual Help, we know, never ceases asking us to trust in her and to offer our prayers. We thank you, Mary, for not only your helping us, but for your generous care and companionship.